Okay, welcome. There are 5 of you with me tonight. Four of you. One more joining. So my name is Rebecca Wakeford, and I am the online tutor for this module. This module is Psychology 1A. So the first thing I just want to do is I want to check that you're all in the correct module. So this is a first module for psychology. I'm assuming that you are all new to psychology, is that correct? Or else repeating the module from last semester. So you have to have done this module before you can move into Psychology 1B. So if there's anybody who feels that they're in the wrong place, that they've done this module before or maybe registered for the wrong module, please just let me know. Otherwise, I'm assuming that you are all new to psychology or repeating. Am I correct with everyone? Okay. So this is our... Hi, someone talking?
No, I was just saying that's correct. I'm new.
Okay, that's great, because there's class lists and there's people on VC Learn, so I'm not too sure at this precise moment how many students I should have, but as long as everyone here is in the right place. So this is all your introduction to psychology, and it's module 1A, which will run for this second half of this year. So welcome everybody. And this session really, it's just to give you an overview of how we'll be working this semester so that you're all clear and know how we're going to proceed. So welcome one and all. I will load the recording up under the More Resources folder. So if there's anybody perhaps you know who's not here, or you want to re-access the recording, it will be loaded up under the More Resources folder. You'll see a folder there that says Lecturer Slides and Recordings, and I load all the recordings up onto that More Resources folder, so you've got access to all the recordings permanently. And if you've got any questions, you please are welcome. Some people don't like speaking, so you're welcome just to put your questions in the chat and I will answer them as we go. So the first thing is just to make sure that you have access to the module outline. I did send out an email or put an announcement on the group with the module outline, and I've also uploaded the module outline under the More Resources folder as well. It says very clearly there, module outline. So it's very important you have access to the module outline because it outlines each of the learning units, and it outlines the different themes that we'll be covering in the learning units, as well as referring you back to certain pages of the textbook where you can access the relevant information. So the module outline is probably one of the most important documents that you've got to start off this module. So please make sure you've all got access to it or can find it on VC Learn. And if anybody hasn't got it or can't find it, please just drop me an email and I will send it to you with the greatest of pleasure. The first thing just to note in the module outline is it does point you to a specific textbook for this module. The textbook we're using is a textbook we used for this module last semester. It's a new textbook. It wasn't a textbook we used in previous years. So the textbook that you need is called Witten and Hassem, Psychology Themes and Variations, 3rd edition. The ISBN number that's given to you in the module outline is incorrect. So they are changing it, but the name of the textbook is correct. And I've put a picture of the textbook underneath so that if you've got the textbook, you can see at a glance that you've got the right textbook. The ISBN number in this module outline refers to the old textbook that we're no longer using, but this is the textbook that's named there. It's a South African edition of a textbook. So there's a lot of South African examples and referencing in there, and it's very relevant. So please just check that you have that textbook. The material for the module follows the textbook. There is material on VC Learn for you, but your primary source of learning and reference is the textbook. So it is very important that you've got access to it. So you can buy it in a hard copy, but it's also available on Wise Books. So that is the textbook. And if anybody's got any problems or issues, again, you're welcome to email me and I will try to resolve them for you. So please make sure that you have the correct textbook. Okay, is that clear with everyone? And hopefully you're all good, because I haven't seen any comments. So you should all be okay with that. The module outline starts with the purpose, and the overall purpose of this module is an introduction to what psychology is, to the discipline. And within that, we cover on the surface really the things like the role of nature and nurture. We look at the biological structures and behavior and psychological process, and it will also start to introduce you to some of the related things around the theorists and theories that we use, the models that we use in psychology, and it is very much an overview. You find the concepts, there's a lot of concepts and there's a lot of diversity in the topics. But the intention of the first year is really to give you an overview of all of the many aspects involved in psychology. So that is the purpose of the module. It's to give you an overview, and there's 3 actual outcomes. So by the end of this module, what you should be able to do is you should be able to see that psychology is a science, because that's what it is. It is a science, and be able to describe what it is and the historical developments of psychology. We focus a lot on what happens in the 20th century. We don't go too much beyond that, but that's where all the important theories have been developed, mainly as in the 20th century onwards. We look at the role of the biological environment and environmental influences on human behavior, because ultimately psychology is about human behavior, thinking, and our mind, and how those all interact. And we look at different theories and perspectives in psychology. So those are the module outcomes, and that's what you'll start to get a feeling of in this module. So the module goes, the material sort of goes all over the place. You do something, you do some history, you do a little bit of statistical analysis, you do a little bit of biology, which might seem like a life science lesson, because it's important to understand how the body works and how our mind and brain function. And then we move into some of the theories around learning and development and things like that. So it's quite a broad overview and some interesting topics. Okay, is everyone clear with what the purpose of that is? So in the module outline, it does give you how the mark allocations work, so that everybody is clear and on how the different assignments and the year-end exams will fit together. So when you get your final mark for the semester, that mark of 100% is comprised of 4 different things. It's comprised of 4 ICE tasks. We call them ICE tasks, and I'll show you what those are just now. Those count 10% towards your final mark. Those are very easy tasks. You'll see them as we progress through the modules, and by submitting them, you're pretty much checking the box that you have submitted, and those 4 together account for 10% of your final mark. There are 2 assignments in this module, and each assignment has a weighting of 25%. So 50% of your mark comes from those 2 assignments. So we've got the 10% from our ICE tasks and 2 assignments at 25% each. The first assignment will focus on Learning Unit 1 and Learning Unit 2, the second assignment on Learning Unit 3 and Learning Unit 4, and the take-home exam will focus on all 6 of the learning units that we cover. So that is how your final mark is made up. What else do I need to tell you? So your assignments are done. I'm not sure if they're available yet, but I will check. They are available to you a long time before the assignment is due, so you have time to work on them. It says you need to allocate about 10 hours towards that assignment in order to submit it comprehensively. And to do the submissions, you'll use the prescribed material as well as additional research. So additional research is important, especially in an online module, because we need to make sure that you are able to research. It's an important component of psychology, but it also what separates you from people who write face-to-face exams is you have the ability during the time to do the research. Therefore, your answers need to reflect that you have expanded beyond what is in the textbook. So the take-home exam itself at the end of the year is worth 40%. You have 21 hours to complete that take-home exam. It's usually released at midnight. And there's a submission time of 9 p.m. that evening. So you have an entire day to work on that exam. Obviously, if it's a take-home exam, it's an open book exam, and you'll need to use the book plus additional research that you can source during that time available. So that's how your marks are allocated. Is everyone clear on how those assessments work? Okay. As tasks, 2 assignments and 1 take-home exam. And I've got the dates. I'll show you the dates shortly so you can see how they all come together in the remainder of the semester. So our next slide, and this isn't a long collab, it's really just to orientate you. So our learning units we cover follow your textbook, starting from chapter 1. First learning unit is on the evolution of psychology. That's about how psychology has evolved as a discipline. The second learning unit is on research methods. So how do we develop theories? We develop theories through research. We have qualitative research and quantitative research, and we'll look at those and how they're used in psychology. We look at the biology of behavior, so that is our nervous system and our brain and how it impacts on behavior. We look at sensory systems, so that's how we receive information through our eyes, through our ears, through our taste, and how that sensory information is converted to how we perceive something or perception. That's another module, a learning unit. We look at the states of consciousness, and we look at how learning takes place around conditioning. You might have heard of Pavlov's dog as an experiment with classical conditioning. So we look at classical conditioning, operant conditioning, as well as observational learning. So that is the 6 learning units that we will cover. And you will see that each learning unit in your module outline is referred to the specific chapter of the textbook. And in some of the learning units, it's not the entire chapter that's covered. So it does give you page references where you need to specifically pay attention. In terms of when things are due and what happens, the AS tasks, which is the first line, and I've taken this as a screenshot from your module outline. So the AS tasks are 4 different activities that we need to complete and submit before a certain date. We haven't got the date yet that the AS tasks are due. What I do is once I receive when those AS tasks are due, so most probably they will be towards the end of September, but I'm not sure. You would need to have submitted all 4 by that date. It gives you time to work through them, to do ones you might find easier and come back to the ones that's harder. But it's really important with the AS tasks that if you are working through a learning unit, you'll see the AS tasks. Try and do it when you're covering that learning unit, because I try to mark them in time to give you sufficient feedback that you need to help you prepare for assignments or final exams. So if you wait right to the end and give me AS tasks just before the close-off date, I don't have time to give you feedback. And it's the feedback to me is the important part for you to be able to learn. So those AS tasks might seem insignificant, but it gives me the opportunity to give you feedback, because in an online space, I don't see you all the time. I only really see you on Collabs. So that's where I get to interact on your own knowledge. The first assignment, and guys, it's very tight. Our first assignment is actually due on the 30th of August, which is at the end of this month. So remember that assignment is on Learning Unit 1 and Learning Unit 2. So we should have covered those learning units in sufficient time in order for you to prepare for your assignment. But your assignment will be released well before then, so you'll have access to it. And as soon as I can confirm which assignment you're getting, I will also put it up under the more resources for you, but it also should be available if you look for it on VC Learn. Then we've got a bit of a gap. Your assignments, sorry, are due at 9 o'clock at night. So that is the cutoff time. Anything that is submitted after 9 o'clock, even if it's 1 minute past 9 o'clock, I'm not allowed to mark it. So it's really important that you submit your assignments well ahead of the deadline, because also something could happen. There could be an ESCOM problem, or there could be a problem with the IT systems at VC. So don't wait until 9 o'clock to submit. Rather get it done and submit it by 8 o'clock. Your assignments go through Safe Assign, which checks them for plagiarism. So you get a Safe Assign report that gives you a plagiarism percentage, and you need to make sure that your assignments are clean and they're not carrying a high percentage in Safe Assign, because that's what we do. We check for plagiarism in any form, and we're very, very strict on plagiarism. So give yourself time to submit it. If you submit your assignment early, say you're ahead of the pack and you submitted a week before, and then you realize, well, maybe I need to change or add something, you can resubmit your assignment. You can resubmit it a number of times before that deadline at 9 o'clock, but I can only mark the last assignment that you submit. So if you submit and you go, oh, I forgot to attach my bibliography, or I've missed out a question or made a mistake, resubmit. It's not a problem, as long as you get your final assignment in before 9 o'clock on that particular day. So I hope that's clear. And with your take-home final exam, your time is 9 o'clock as well, like I said to you that night. So plenty of time. And that's how the assignments work. Those are our deadlines. What I've done is I have put all the assignment dates, I put all the dates onto the calendar. If anything changes in any of the dates, it will be communicated to you, but this is the program assessment schedule that I've been given for this semester. So that's what we're working towards now. Okay, those are our set dates. What I've done, this is how our collabs work. So basically the way I work and the way other psych lecturers in the online space work is we cover a learning unit in a collab session. We call them collab sessions. They're collaborate sessions. So the intention is that you work through the material that's been provided to you, both on VC Learn and in the textbook using your module outline before the collab session. Remember that this is it's a self-study program that you're on. It's an online, therefore I'm not here to lecture you all the time. What I'm here to do is to have sessions with you where I can revisit a learning unit, we can cover important points, we can have a bit more discussion if you need some more discussion, but ultimately they're about an hour long, and I try to cover most of the information during those collabs, but the idea is that you've been through it beforehand, and if you've got any questions you can ask me questions. And we can have a discussion. So go through the material in advance, and then you come to the learning unit having an understanding of what I will be talking about. The collabs are all recorded, and I upload them. I record them, put them on YouTube, and I upload the YouTube link. So if any time you miss a collab, you can't make it, that recording is accessible to you. Our first collab, I did send out an email to say our collab sessions would be at 6, but unfortunately I've had to change them to 7:30 because I've got another group at 6, and I need to get your material in before the 30th of August so we can make that assignment date. I've made the collabs at 7:30 to start with, and then once we're outside of August, I'm going to move them back to 6 o'clock, but it's just so that I can cover those learning units with you before that assignment. So our first collab session is going to be next week, Monday, the 8th of August at 7:30, and it'll be on Learning Unit 1. And the second collab, which will be on Learning Unit 2, will be 2 weeks after that. So I tend to work in 2-week blocks, which is what it says to you. You sort of need to spend in order to go into the material in some detail. And the assignment for our first assignment is due on the 30th of August. So you would have covered all the material by the 30th of August. For each assignment, as well as the take-home exam, we have what is called a national support session. And that's where all the students for the module join me as I'm the lead OT. And it's usually the week before the assignment is due, where we go through the assignment that's been given to you. We can't discuss it obviously in detail, but we can highlight any important points, and you are able to ask me any questions on that assignment. So before each assignment, we have that national support session. So that's what our August looks like. And then I've put those dates on the calendar. So you see a calendar there, all the dates are on there. Our Learning Unit 3 is in September. We do have time this semester. We do have sufficient time to cover everything. Learning Unit 3, unfortunately, will be a pre-recording. It won't be a live collab session because I'm not available on the date for that learning unit. But what I will do is on the 26th of September, again at 7:30, I will just have a check-in with you. So I won't be going through the whole learning unit, but I will be checking in that you've all been able to watch that pre-recording, and you can come to me with any problems or anything else. So just put all these dates in your diary, and I'm sorry it's a little bit choppy in the middle of September, but unfortunately I have a commitment over that date that I can't get out of. So I'm going to do it as a pre-recording, so you've got it, and we'll have a check-in on the 26th of September to make sure you're all good. And then we sort of move back to, we'll move to a 6 o'clock slot. If you prefer 7:30, that's up to you, and you can let me know, but 6 o'clock is generally the time I run the collab sessions normally. So Learning Unit 4 will be on the 3rd of October, Learning Unit 5 on the 17th. Then we'll have a national support session, and I'll confirm the date with you as soon as I'm given them, which will be the week before that second assignment is due on the 31st of October. And then our Learning Unit 6 we'll do in November, early November. Then we'll have a nice revision session if anybody needs it. We'll have a national support session. Will also be just before the exam, and the exam on the 28th of November. So that's how the rest of our year will look in terms of my direct contact with you as collab sessions. So we're going to start off at 7:30, and I apologize for that, but I need to just make it at that time. Otherwise, I'm not going to get through what I need to with you before that assignment, and thereafter we'll move to 6 o'clock, if that's all right. But if anyone has any problems, those sessions are recorded, and they'll be available pretty much the next day. It takes a while for it to download. Once I've downloaded it, I'll share it straight away the next day. But we'll get all the material in before the due dates. So it's all on your calendar, and if you've got any questions or problems, again, you're welcome to email me. The ICE tasks that I spoke about, so we have to do 4 ICE tasks, and when you go onto VC Learn, I'm not sure if you have yet, you'll see that the learning material is there. And for each module, there's a set of learning material which gives you some extra resources to have a look at, and various links you can follow. And as I said, our primary material is the textbook, but embedded in the learning units, you will see that there are activities. Now, 4 activities are labeled as ICE tasks. There's also a folder under more resources that is called ICE tasks, and I've put links to those activities there. So you don't have to do all the activities on VC Learn, but you need to do these particular 4, and there's one in each learning unit up until Learning Unit 4, and they're labeled ICE tasks. So the first one in Learning Unit 1 is a task called the History of Psychology. Then in Learning Unit 2, there's one on quantitative and qualitative research. In Learning Unit 3, there's an activity called Looking Inside the Brain. And then Learning Unit 4, there's indicated. But if at any reason you can't see them or can't find them, please just send me an email. So by the time we've gone through Learning Unit 1, you should have made a good effort at doing the History of Psychology, and likewise, and I can give you feedback that's relevant and current and makes sense to you, rather than 2 months down the line where it doesn't really help you for me to give you feedback so late. So are you all good with those ICE tasks? Okay, and if you can't find them, you just give me a shout, but I have put links to them under more resources. And the final part of it is around research and referencing. So in psychology, referencing in any subject in higher education, referencing is key. In psychology, and you might have in previous studies or at school used the Harvard referencing system. In psychology, we use a different referencing system. It's called the APA, which stands for American Psychological Association. It's their 7th edition referencing guide. So it's not that much difference to Harvard referencing. There's a few tweaks around where full stops go and which authors' names you include. But this is the referencing system that you need to use for psychology, and you need to reference throughout your work. Even if you are using the textbook, you have to reference the textbook because the ideas are not your own. Psychology is not subjective. You are basing your work on the theories of others who have gone before. You're basing your work on research that has been done. It's a science-based subject. Important to cite where you are getting your information from. And so when you do your assignments and your take-home exam, referencing is a significant part of your work, and there are, in most cases, marks allocated towards referencing. And there are marks deducted for irregularities in referencing. So when we have our national support session, I'll go through the technical rubric. So you will be given a rubric around how we do referencing, but your referencing must be consistent, and you need to have a referencing list or a bibliography attached to your assignment. Your in-text citations need to be correct. There can't be any plagiarism. You need to clearly know how to paraphrase something, to be able to write something in your own words, and to use direct quotes if you're citing directly. So I know this can be alarming, and I know it's what my first year students struggle with is a fear of referencing. What I did last semester is I got the online librarian from the online center, Margaret Bash. She did a session for the students, and I've put a recording of that. If you look under more resources, you'll see there's a little line there that says VC Online Librarian Reference Recording. So she did a session for us specifically on using the APA 7th edition. She looked at how to do citations, if you're using a website, how to cite a website, and it's a very good tool. And I suggest that before you even get too far into your module, you watch that video that I've uploaded. There's also on VC Learn, it does give you a link to a very, very, very good referencing support website called Purdue Online Writing Lab, and I've put a link to that under referencing support. So at any time, if you're unsure about referencing, go to these resources and check how to do your citation. So if you're using a website, you Google or put in how to reference a website in APA, and it will tell you how to do that. If you want to cite an academic journal, it will tell you how to do that. So all the resources are there that you need to help you with referencing. But the online librarian, Margaret Bass, is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful resource. And if at any point you are unsure or you want to have an individual session with her on referencing, then what you do is you just make contact with her via the VC Learn and set up a time to have a discussion with her. But it's important to understand that we're moving away from Harvard. We're using the APA 7th edition, which guides us exactly on how to reference something. What Margaret will also do is if you need to do research and you're unsure how to use the library resource on VC Learn, she will also guide you in using that resource that's available to you. That's where you can get access to numerous journals, articles and books and things like that that support what we are doing. So when it gets into, for example, we might be doing development, we might be talking about child development, we might be talking about a theorist Piaget, and you might be asked to to find research to support your point of view. You can go onto the VC Learn library, you can access one of the databases, you can type in Piaget stages of development, and it will come up with various research articles that you can then use in the work that you're submitting. So all the information is there. Rather try to source, especially when you're writing academically, credible academic sources. There are some good psychology websites, Introduction to Psychology, Simply Psychology, Very Well Mind. They give you a good overview. So where you don't understand a topic and you need help understanding a topic, then go to those websites. But where you actually have to look at research to support what you're saying, that's where you need to use the online library. So I hope that makes sense. There's a lot of good resources on all of our topics. So if ever you get stuck, even before you come to me, just Google. There's some great YouTube videos from Khan Academy and various things like that that can really help you understand. But just make sure that you are clear that you need to be able to reference and be able to do research for this module. So that is sort of the end of the orientation, and I hope I've just given you an idea of where the module is going over the next few weeks, and you've got a sense of how it works. The dates for our collabs, our dates for assignments, and I would take any questions now. If anyone's got any, you're welcome to put them in the chat. Otherwise, I look forward to starting this journey with you. It's always interesting and exciting to start something new. It's a wonderful subject, and when you get into it, you can actually see the application of some of these things in your daily lives. So it's very relevant. If there's areas you don't really like, then just bear with them, and I know we'll move on to better sections that you might enjoy more. If you need to contact me, you just pop me an email. My link is on your VC Learn sidebar. It says contact your lecturer. I get back to you, I hope, within 24 hours. I'm generally quite quick at responding. If it's over a weekend, it might be a little bit longer, but I am always available to you if you're stuck with anything or have a problem. So that's an overview. If there are any questions, I'll take them. If you want to write them in the chat, you're more than welcome. Otherwise, I will see you at our first collab session next week, Monday at 7:30. Are there any questions? Everyone's very good. All right, so you're all clear. I assume you're all good. You're ready to go, and you're going to open your textbook and start doing some reading on chapter 1. So good luck, and I will see you next week, Monday on the 8th, and I will upload the recording tomorrow, and please email me if I can help with anything. Okay. It's a pleasure, Erin. Thanks, Puvan. Thanks, Keith. Thank you all. I'm going to stop this recording now, and I will see you next week. You are free to leave. Go and get warm somewhere.